I can't imagine it'll be much louder than our fans were here on Saturday, honestly, but that was when we were on defense, not offense. So we played there earlier in the year, but this is a little bit different. You know, it's a playoff game, divisional round. The difference is, you know, you win and you keep going, you lose and you're done. So there's that sense of urgency of just, I mean, I don't want to say it this way, but just the desperation of doing everything you can to win the game, and you feel that on both sides of the ball. And it's that way in the regular season too, but it's just another level, just because everybody knows, you know, this is, especially now we're in the divisional round, we're getting deeper and deeper in this thing. People know what's on the line, and you just, I mean, guys just willing to do whatever it takes to win.
Desperation, interesting. Omar Ruiz with us to talk about this one as well. Desperation, which they showed last week, guys, in the second half, but then obviously they didn't show to the first half. Bucky, it's interesting because week 10 when they were there, they forced 3 turnovers, right? They recovered an onside kick to start the game, but they still couldn't do much whatsoever, and they lost. They need 2 halves this week.
Yeah, they need 2 halves. And I think the one thing that you're watching the Jaguars grow up right in front of our eyes. They played a win-or-go-home game against the Tennessee Titans a couple weeks ago. They played their first playoff game in years last weekend. And hearing Trevor talk about the desperation that accompanies a playoff game, you have to remember, you had a bunch of newbies who have never been in a playoff environment. And each round that you go, there's a level of urgency and intensity that scales up. And so now that they've played in it, they have a better understanding of how important those little moments are. For the quarterback in particular, he saw what turnovers do in big games and how you have to dig yourself out of holes. It is on Trevor Lawrence to play better. And I think because of the experience last week, I think you'll see a better version of Trevor Lawrence. Now, he's going to have to be on his A game, because ultimately in the playoffs, it comes down to quarterback play and pass rushers. And so he has to go even Steven with Pat Mahomes, and that is a huge job considering how Pat Mahomes always plays at an MVP level.
Yeah, Bucky, that playoff intensity the Jaguars have been playing with really for a month now is something Patrick Mahomes has noticed about the Jags, and he said it'll be critical for the Chiefs to be able to match that intensity heading into Arrowhead on Saturday. Now, that is something they have familiarity with. Patrick Mahomes, in his 5 playoff appearances, now 4 times they've had the bye. So they're used to matching that intensity against a team that has that playoff game under its belt. Familiarity also something they have with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We heard about the Week 10 matchup. Patrick Mahomes said, of course, they're going to study that game. But in looking at the Jags defensive coordinator, Mike Caldwell, Mahomes noted that he came from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and in the Buccaneers 2020 season, they played them one way in the regular season against the Chiefs. That was a Chiefs win, but then in the Super Bowl, they played them completely different and obviously lost that game. So when they're looking at the Jags and preparing for them, they will be prepared based on what they saw in Week 10, but also preparing for whatever else they might see in that matchup on Saturday as well.
Great point there about Mike Caldwell, a Todd Bowles disciple, former NFL linebacker. 6 straight times in the regular season, the Chiefs have beaten the Jaguars. First time they will meet in the postseason. Bucky Brooks is going to be there. Oh, by the way. Good to see you, Bucky.
Well, so stay tuned for this. This does not feel like Sean Payton is looking at this like there's a sense of urgency. Like, I got to get back in. It only sounds like it's he's going to jump back in if the situation is right for him. So we'll continue to monitor this, and once he gets through that Panthers interview with David Tepper, which is going to be in New York, he's bi-coastal right here. He's hitting everything on both sides.
I was going to say, like, if you can't find the right job living on the beach in L.A., it's not so bad. It's not so bad.
Yep.
Wait till next year if you want to. Meantime, the Patriots, Ian, can't wait until next year. They need a new offensive coordinator relatively quickly. Interesting list of names we have for that job.
We'll start with Keenan McCardell, the receivers coach for the Minnesota Vikings, who goes all the way back to the Cleveland Browns with Coach Bill Belichick. He received, the Patriots requested permission to interview him. He will interview, obviously, a long, long history there for Bill Belichick. Then you have Bill O'Brien, who is certainly a prime candidate here. Most people believe he is the favorite, I would say, to get the offensive coordinator job. Not that anything is done at all. I'm just saying he has firmly established position as someone that many people inside the organization want back. Currently the Alabama offensive coordinator, who is right now out recruiting. And then there's Nick Caley, who interviewed today. Is interviewing today. He is the tight ends coach for the Patriots. Considered a really bright young coach, and I think like a lot of Patriots coaches, very much under the radar, but outside the Patriots and in the league, including the Jets who interviewed him for OC, someone who is really well respected.
All right, Keenan McCardell, that would go all the way back to the old Browns in Cleveland, undrafted free agent, had a great career and ended up obviously in Jacksonville, and now he has been coaching. Let's get to Nashville, Garofalo. The Titans have a...
I'd love to go to Nashville.
You'd love to go to Nashville right now? Just a random Wednesday trip? We could work it. Hey, go there for the Ran Carthon press conference. Why not? Tell us why this was the right fit for their new GM, replacing John Robinson, fired last month.
Yeah. The Ran Carthon press conference scheduled for Friday as of right now, with the Titans announcing today what we reported yesterday. Ian slightly ahead of me because his fingers are just faster. They're just in more shape. But Ran Carthon
are
hired
in better shape?
Well, only his fingers, just his fingers. He works them a lot. Ran Carthon, let's move on. The new general manager of the Tennessee Titans. He beat out Ian Cunningham from the Bears, who was on a rapid rise, formerly of the Eagles, went to Chicago, and now had a second interview with the Titans. I know I was asked this. How did it go from these guys are going to have second interviews to Ran Carthon hired like that? Because Carthon was in the building for his second interview yesterday. Ryan Cowden, the internal candidate, also had a second look as well. But Carthon is the one that blew the team away, got the job. Titans controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk noting what a great job the 49ers have done out there building their roster. Adam Peters, one of the other personnel folks underneath John Lynch, would have been in line for jobs, but as Ian reported, he wants to stay in San Francisco for now. But Amy Adams Strunk with the quote saying he played an important role there constructing one of the league's best teams with the 49ers. She also noted his leadership abilities and his abilities to connect with people. So Ran Carthon, son of former NFL running back Maurice Carthon, a former player himself, worked his way up, and now is the general manager for the Tennessee Titans.
From Atlanta to St. Louis to Los Angeles to San Francisco, and now to Tennessee as the general manager. All right, Ian, how are your fingers with the typing and the tweeting? Are they in shape on the Nathaniel Hackett talking to the Jets story?
But sure. Nathaniel Hackett's interviewing now with the Jets. They're interviewing, doing a wide-ranging OC search. A lot of veteran names. I think hiring a veteran certainly would make sense for the New York Jets. Really, the question here for Hackett is, does it make sense for him to come back and coach this year? It's such a you know, sort of high-stress, highly visible position. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on the New York Jets. Obviously, it is a chance to get it right, but considering what he's been through, considering the Broncos are paying him for several years to come, does it make sense for him to come back and be the OC for nothing when he could be taking a year off and taking a deep breath? I think that is the question that Hackett and most coaches who have been fired as head coaches need to ask themselves. History shows that taking a year off makes a lot of sense and does a lot of help. We'll see if Hackett has that decision.
Whether it's in Thailand or sitting on a beach in Los Angeles. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Take
Thailand
your
seems
pick.
lovely.
13 months ago, thank you guys, Nathaniel Hackett was an assistant and the offensive coordinator in Green Bay for this guy, Aaron Rodgers, who walked off the field week 18 after losing to the Lions to only more questions. Did he answer any of those questions yesterday with Pat McAfee? Maybe? All right, having audio difficulties there, Bucky Brooks, with the Aaron Rodgers tape on of Pat McAfee. But I'm going to read from a card, Bucky, and give you a general idea of what he said. He said that he doesn't have a feeling which way yet he is leaning. He says he's not physically or emotionally ready to make that decision yet as to whether or not he wants to come back and play another year with the Packers. He also said something interesting about he thinks he can still win another MVP. And some people are reading that as, well, what, you can't win another Super Bowl? You're only thinking about winning another MVP? The question was, can you still play? And so he answered affirmatively, he can still play. I know you heard what Rodgers said. We'll try to play it a little bit later. What did you take from all that?
Oh, well, look, man, I think Aaron Rodgers still wants to play. I think the big thing is, where's he at in this stage of his career when it comes to how he plays. I think last year was very telling. Aaron Rodgers was not the same Aaron Rodgers that won back-to-back MVPs. And as much as we love the idea of a quarterback playing into his 40s, it's not really a reality for most players. Last year, we saw Aaron Rodgers not be the same. He doesn't want to take hits. He's not taking contacts. He doesn't push the ball down the field like he has in the past. Yeah, he might be able to play at an MVP level, but everything around him is going to have to be spectacular. The playmakers, the offensive line, the running backs, much like we see with Tom Brady,